All right. The case was adjourned for 2 days for oral hearing between applicant and the respondent. Applicant Akapanda and respondent Enabo Zonal Administration. The case is case number 2022. So now the court has assumed the case. Now the applicant can start the hearing.
Chief Judge, Honorable Judge, may it please the court. Good afternoon. My name is Edison Solomon. I am the applicant in the case of internal express person. It has two basic issues. I will argue on two basic issues and I will 8 minutes for my argument. The question before the court is whether the right of Akapana people to be protected by the government is violated or not. And the second basic issue is the right of applicant to get humanitarian assistance like food, shelter, water, education is violated or not. The first issue filed to the court is whether the right of Akapana people to be protected by the government is violated. The security threat in Akapana district and an attack by unknown gunmen on residents of the district is a testament to a government inability to protect their citizens. The petition alleges that the safety of the applicant was not compromised by the government. It fails to maintain peace and security in Akapana area. I, the counsel of the applicant, the government are actually violating the constitutional right of the applicant living in Akapana area. Contrary to the constitutional right of the applicant, the security situation is deteriorated and unidentified armed group have inflicted heavy casualties on the residents. The plaintiff attorney therefore argues that the defender violation of the right, Article 14 of the Ramo Constitution. Honorable Court, Article 14, sub-Article 1 of the Ramo Constitution clearly states that every person has inviolable and inalienable right to life, liberty, and security. And also, Article 16, sub-Article 1 of the Ramo Constitution clearly states that every person has to be protected against any body harm. Respected Court, our claim case, as mentioned earlier, prior on May 2021, the humanitarian and material damage caused to the applicant, and on May 2021, the attack by the militant group is increased. It is not the first time the militant group attacked the Akapana area. The militant group attacked for the couple's list. They have repeated and improved the attack on the Akapana area. They killed 17 residents, 4 police officers, looted 100 homes, and burned down 6 buildings. Your Honor, no member of the residents are arrested in the previous as well as mass over attack. But still they are hiding in the forest of the Akapana area, which is found in the Dance region. This shows the government's inability to protect their citizens. And we respectively ask the Honorable Court, we call on the respondents to be held accountable for the security situation in Akapana area and the human and material damage caused to them by unknown armed group is as a part of government failure to protect their citizens. If you have any question, ask me, Your Honor, but if you don't have any question, I proceed my second issue.
When you come first.
Thanks, Your Honor. The second issue filed to the court is the applicant's right to get humanitarian assistance like food, shelter, water is violated. I, the counsel of the applicant, in cognizance to the Kampala Agreement, submit that the applicant's right to get humanitarian assistance, which shall be adequate and sufficient to the basic need standard, is violated. Hence, I connected the respondents have violated the right of applicant state under Article 5, sub-Article 1 and 5. Furthermore, Article 3, sub-Article 1, letter J of the African Union Convention for the Protection and Assistance of IDP in Africa. Honorable Court, I, the counsel of the applicant, argue that our client right to get adequate humanitarian assistance, like food, shelter, water, shall not be violated, even though the local administration has tried to assess some humanitarian assistance to the Akapana displaced person. And also, the shelter, for instance, are by far inadequate in number and size in relation to the number of the displaced. And the water and the food ration supply has been very low, that it can't keep them until the next round. This shows the government's inability to provide equal access of humanitarian assistance. And also, in this list, the Akapana displaced people have to lead unwanted work like begging, prostitution, underage labor exploitation, and extra work. But if the Akapana displaced person is one of the part of country, the government shouldn't leave this situation in the Akapana displaced person. Honorable Justice, clearly shown on Article 5, Sub-Article 1, it proclaims that a state party shall be the primary duty and responsibility for providing protection of humanitarian assistance to the IDP within territory or jurisdiction without any discrimination. And also, in addition, on the same Article 5, Sub-Article 5, it proclaims that a state party shall provide sufficient protection and assistance to IDPs, and where available resources are inadequate to enable them. To do so, they shall cooperate in seeking the assistance of internal organizations like humanitarian agency, civil society, and other relevant actors. Even if the local administration didn't provide equal humanitarian assistance for the IDP, they work like aid agency, NGO, FAO, UNICEF organization. But the local administration didn't work in this situation. And also, Article 3, Sub-Article 1 later it states that state party have obligation to ensure assistance to IDP by meeting their basic needs as well as allowing and facilitating rapid and unimpeded access by humanitarian organizations and personnel on the Kampala Convention. But the government didn't work in this situation. As shown in the above, the humanitarian assistance provided to Akapana displaced by the local administration, like food, shelter, and water, has not been sufficient. As also been shown above, it's primary duty and the responsibility of the respondent to provide protection and humanitarian aid to the Akapana displaced, and where resources inadequate, they shall cooperate with the international agency and aid organization. And hence, I respectively ask the Honorable Court to order the respondents to provide adequate humanitarian assistance, in addition to the ones they are providing by cooperating and integrating with other stakeholders as stated on the Kampala Convention.
Okay, thank you. Now we will proceed to the case. Well, we will raise our questions after the respondent present his presentation. So,
good afternoon, Your Honor. May it please the court. My name is Nombinia and I am the Counsel of Defendants, and I will defend the two basic issues on the applicant complaint. I will use about 8 minutes for my defense. Honorable Court, I, the counsel for the respondent, present my defense against applicant first complaint is that the government has failed to protect the security rights of Akapana residents as follows. No significant security problem which could lead the Akapana residents into a total security threat did occur, and the government has been working tirelessly to disarm and neutralize the armed group and to restore law and order in the area. Even though the armed group managed to conduct a surprise attack on May 2021, it has never been beyond the control of the regular security and legal bodies. Hence, there is no issue that ensures the failure of the government to protect the security rights of Akapana residents. Honorable Court, the RAM of Federal Democratic Republic Constitution, Article 9, Sub-Article 2, and Article 13, Sub-Article 1 shows that federal and state legislative, executive, and judicial organs at any level shall have the responsibility and duty to respect and enforce the provision. In addition, Article 25 declares all persons are equal before the law, and they are entitled without discrimination to equal protection of the law. In this regard, the defendant at all levels have made an effective effort to ensure security all over. Consequently, reliable security prevailed all over the country. In the Nabo, no security problem did occur in 4 waradas out of 5. Even in Akapana, it's only 1/4 of 12,000 residents left their village for Manabo for out of proportion and exaggerated security threats. If the security threat that occurred in the area had been beyond the control of the regular security and legal bodies, the majority, which accounts 3/4 of the total population, wouldn't live their peaceful life in their place of residence. Hence, the Council of Respondents says, the people who flee to Manabo left their village for unnecessary fear of threat. Note the situation got beyond the control of the security elements. On that note, the Council of Respondents request the Honorable Court to rule out the complaint of applicant as unreasonable and has no ground. Your Honor, I have concluded my first defense. If there are no any questions, let me move to the next defense. Thank you, Your Honor. In the first place, according to the Kampala Agreement, the Akapana people who are staying in Manabo town don't qualify the prerequisite to be called internal displaced people. If the Honorable Court concludes they can qualify to be called IDPs, the city administration, in addition to provide shelter, it has also cooperate and collaborate NGOs and governmental organizations to provide basic humanitarian assistance like food, water, shelter, or edible oil, weight, blankets to them. Respected Court, as stated on Kampala Agreement, Article 1, internal displaced persons means person or group who have been forced to flee or to leave their homes as a result or in order to avoid effects of armed conflict, situation of generalized violation of human rights, or natural disaster, and who have not crossed internally recognized state border. Honorable Court, in a situation where there is no armed conflict, generalized violence and human rights violation, and top of all 75% of the total population live their life freely from security threat, defining the Akapana peoples as internal displaced people is unacceptable. For this reason, the defendant shall not be accounted in the connection with the right and protection of internal displaced persons. Respected Judge, if the court recognizes them as IDPs, as stated on Ramo Federal Democratic Republic Constitution, Article 89, Sub-Article 3, and Article 89, Sub-Article 3 actually, government shall take measure to avert any natural and man-made disaster and event disaster to provide timely assistance to the victim. And on Article 90, Sub-Article 1, it is stated, to the extent, Your Honor, to the extent the country resource permitted, policies aim to provide all citizens of Ramo access, public health, education, free water, housing, food, social security. In cognizance to this, the defendant has diverted its 60% of annual budget to the basic humanitarian assistance for the victims. By doing so, it's definitely exercised its duties. Since there is no legal ground to account the defendant in complaint that applicant filed to the court, and the Council of Respondents request the respected judge follow the complaint of applicant thereof. Your Honor, this was my argument on the applicant complaint. Thank you.
So you can have a seat, then we will have some questions.
Okay.
So if you have some answers or
Your Honor, the government knows that have been attacked for couple years in the Akapana Rada, but he didn't work in this situation until May 2020 exploded this situation. He didn't work in the annual. In the couple years they are unattacked, but on May 2021 this attack is exploded. And also the government returned and shipped 1,000 people without the will of the people. the 1,000 people take to 2,000 people, the security situation is not still fine in the Akafana Orada, and no member of the militant group hasn't been arrested in this situation. And also the humanitarian and the material assistance needed to meet even pure water for them to provide 2 weeks in two times in 1 week. There are 3,000 people in tents, but it is not need the humanitarian assistance to provide. Thanks.
Okay, let me ask you some questions. Regarding the second application, the suit that you upload, do you think that the government of Akapara is reluctant because they have diverted about 60% of their developmental budget to give humanitarian assistance for those who are in need?
Yes, you are not 60% of the budget is returned to the humanitarian assistance to the IDPs, but even 60% is provided to them, it is not sufficient to them. In this situation, in the Kampala Convention, the government has tried to assess another aid agency without like human aid agency, humanitarian aid agency, FAO, WHO, UNICEF, but he didn't work this situation because we can't keep them until the next ration only in the water, in the food, in the shelter. So as he can't do this, he requested to for WHO or humanitarian aid agency or like UNICEF, but he can't do this. It's one of the problems of our government.
We can understand from the case that they have tried to contact with some NGOs and international organizations to make support for those who are in need.
As you read in that
We
case,
can understand from the fact, from the data.
but he didn't work in this such manner. If it can't to be sufficient, he works like this in the Kampala Convention of our resource park. But he didn't work in this.
Yeah, basically, government has a duty for some, civilian, not actually civilian, but for cultural rights and political and social rights. The government are expected to fulfill those rights, through a progressive realization. So the governments are not expected to build everything or to make everything good overnight.
As that, it is not progressive change. It is basic need for our humans, like food, shelter, water. It is a basic need. Like there are many problems in progressive change, right? Basic need is unique change because human can't live with food and water.
Okay. My question is, as a council of applicant, what is the total damage you can ask for the speaker?
Like you ordered the respondent to provide sufficient basic needs and humanitarian assistance by food, shelter and water. And also in the first issue, the government failed to protect their security in system. They are citizen of the Rambo country, but the government didn't secure them in such way. Even if for the couple 600 and he didn't arrest the militant group, it is the bad situation for this city.
Regarding the first patient, the first suit. Okay, questions for respondent. You have said that there is no significant threats to the security of the people in the region. So can we say that it's not significant while about 3,000 of people are displaced and about 17 people, persons have killed there by armed groups and many buildings burned. Can we say that it's not significant? What is the threshold of being, significant or not significant?
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. The 3,000 residents left their village for exaggerated security threat. Because they left their village, the security threat is not significant, but they left their village for exaggerated security threat. This is the reason for my defense.
So what about the obligation of the state to protect its citizens from the armed group?
The government do its best to protect them from any security threat. The government do its best, but on May 2021, it was a surprise attack. I have mentioned it before. It was a surprise attack, so the government can do it.
Okay, what about the providing humanitarian assistance for those who are in need?
Yes.
The government has provided some assistance, but it is by far it is below what's needed.
Thank you. On Article 19, Sub-Article 1, it states that to the extent the country resource permit. So the government do its best to the extent the country resource permit, and it's diverted 60% of annual budget. Maybe this annual budget do for another things, but it's diverted the 60% of annual budget for the basic humanitarian assistance for the victims. So the article says to the extent the country resource permit, so the country resource permit this, so the government exercise its duties.
But the Kampala Convention obliges the states to cooperate with international institutions or NGOs and intergovernmental organizations.
Yes, Your Honor. This government has cooperated and collaborated with NGOs and any governmental organization to provide the humanitarian assistance. I have mentioned before it.
Okay. The case is adjourned for April 29 for to hear the evidence and witnesses. So the court is dismissed.